When life gets in the way, what do you do to stay calm and keep going? I'm curious, and we're going to dive into that today in this podcast. I'm Claire. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Claire for Integrally Alive, with practical body, mind, wisdom, and tools to create balance in life and be free to be who you are, to do what you want, and to live how you want. And of course, I'm French, maybe you heard it, and this life gets in the way thing always had me wonder. I don't feel like life gets in the way, really, but there are sure lots of things getting in the way today of us just living how we want, right? Lots of things getting cancelled, lots of things not happening, lots of moments of transitions, confusions. So this comes from a session I just had with a client the other day, and also a reflection. Well, she was in a moment of transition from her own words, transitions, and lots of decisions to take and a lot of confusion because, well, what should I do? I don't know. And we are a lot in this position right now because lots of things are changing, and whether we want it or not, we cannot stick to plans because there are no plans anymore. So this brings up a lot of, well, uncertainty. Maybe that's the word I heard the most on any media these days, like this month, uncertainty and confusion, and it feels just like chaos, honestly, right? A bit of n'importe quoi, as we say in French. It's just like, oh, this should go like that, but it's not. And then, so there is obviously it's normal that we have a sense of frustration. She was telling me, yeah, but it feels like things don't move, like they don't, at least they don't move fast enough. Nothing gets done, nothing is happening. And it's true. And it's absolutely okay to be frustrated right now, even to be angry or impatient. It means you're a human. But I want to offer a little twist to that, because what is chaos? Chaos is, well, things not happening like it was planned, things changing. It's also a lot of things happening at the same time and with no direction. So you just cannot make sense of it because it's just goes there and there and there in any direction, and then it stops. And then it starts again, but in another direction. And this is chaos, right? Lots of change, but it feels like destruction. Not changing, oh, it's transforming into a beautiful plant. No, lots of change in the sense of what was isn't anymore. And what I know, well, I cannot rely on it anymore. So it's unwanted change. And it's more or less the opposite of structure. Well, the twist I want to offer to you is when there is no structure and when there is no order, there is a lot of freedom. And when we don't want it, it might feel like frightening, of course, because it's freedom of the unknown. We don't know what's going to come up next, but it's still freedom. What it means is if so much things are changing, it means something else is being created. Like it's mathematics, right? Life doesn't like void. If there is void, there will be something created into it. So there is destruction of something, something else will happen. Thing is, we're not happy or comfortable with it because we don't know what that something will be. So you could look at chaos as creative mess. I love to look at it as creative mess. Something is being born in this chaos. And we just don't know what it is, but something is being born, and it's a mess. It's often like that when there's creation, when there's something is being born, it's often not nice and pretty, and not at once, not at first, but often afterwards. And this afterwards could be as quick or as long as, sometimes it's just hours, sometimes it's days, sometimes it's years after we look back at this moment of chaos and we're like, oh yeah, now I can see what the dynamic was, because now it makes sense and I can see where it went and where it ended. And we can recognize this moment as being really creative. But on the moment is often, let's be honest, it's just feel painful. So why not? And this is my challenge for you today. Why not see, when you recognize chaos, when you recognize, oh, that's not happening how I wanted, and this feels totally confusing, and I don't know what to do, and blah, 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 blah. When you recognize that, why not shift from chaos to creative mess right away? And it's as simple as looking in the other direction, because the situation is exactly the same, but it's just another look at it. Chaos, creative mess. That's it. Okay, yeah, that's easy said. How do you do that? Well, how about we do it in a tiny version of an exploration I offer on my Integrally Life Toolkit on the website. So if you want the longer version, it will be on the website somewhere. You can go and catch it, like a 10-minute version of what I'm offering you today in just a few minutes. But instead of pushing away this frustration, anger, whatever is there, this, I don't want this to happen feeling, we're going to do something else. So you will need just a few moments with it. You can do it anywhere. It will be easier to do it where either no one is watching or you are comfortable with people thinking you're crazy. But you can do it anywhere, really. You just tone down if you're not comfortable. And it's better to do it standing because you will be freer to move. But I am sitting right now, and you could totally do it sitting or even lying down. It's just when you stand up, you have more freedom to move. So when you connect to that moment, like if you're like me, today I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to be somewhere else, but that's not going to happen because guess what? It's been cancelled. Yay! Just for the 3rd time this year. Yoo-hoo! So when I connect to that, I feel frustration. I feel a little bit of anger, and I feel impatience because I really wanted to do what is it I was supposed to do today. And it's not going to happen for another 5 months. So I feel frustration. And look, well, I'm sorry if you're listening to this, you will miss out on a few things because there's going to be visual cues, but you can always go on the website to watch it or on YouTube, and you can listen anyway. You can go with it anyway. You just miss sometimes because this is going to be a bit visual. Because if you're looking to me right now, you just saw my face just change when I was talking about this, like my eyes went, my mouth was like, oh. That's what happened. So I notice when you connect to whatever is happening for you that feels like chaos, and notice what's happening. Maybe your mouth is like, your eyes getting tense, maybe a little bit wrinkle. I have this one always showing up for me in the middle of my eyes. And notice and recognize it. Oh, yeah, that feels like I'm shrinking. And instead of trying to relax it, like you would probably usually do, go with it. Ugh, make it bigger, and bigger, and bigger, bigger, bigger. Go. Until you just have to release it because it's just too much. It's just the maximum point of tension. So let's do it again. You feel this moment, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I want it to be there. Oh, it's not going to happen. And you make it bigger, and maybe your fists are forming right now. Your hands are forming fists, and maybe you are doing, like I'm doing right now, extremely funny face in and more tension until, oh, I don't want it to happen. Oh. Until you just have to release because you reach the maximum point of tension. And then notice what happens. Notice how this feeling of, oh, that was tense, feels like and looks like. It can be funny to do this in front of a mirror. I'm not watching at myself right now, but I'm sure I had a funny face. And if you're feeling right now like, I don't feel less tense, well, you didn't reach that maximum point of tension I'm talking about. Do it again and again and again until you can feel you really go into it. And the moment you just have to release because it's too much. The same kind of sensation that when you're breathing, if you only breathe that one way, let's say you only breathe in and in and in and in. And at some point you have to let air go out. It's exactly the same thing. And notice when you go through your frustration, through your anger, with no words, with no mental construct, just physically going through it, going with emotion. A few things happen. First, it's really funny. You look really ridiculous, and that's why I was telling, easier to do when no one else is looking. Because yeah, it looks, when you have a kid doing a temper tantrum, and you can be sorry for that kid, you can be really compassionate for that kid, and at the same time, you can recognize this is ridiculous. This looks ridiculous, and it's exactly the same with us. We can be sorry for what's happening. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I think it's been cancelled for the third time and I have to wait. But still, if I'm doing a temper tantrum for that, this is ridiculous. It's just not worth it. So it adds a little bit of humor. It adds a little bit of taking things less seriously. And it's wonderful how things can shift when we take things less seriously, isn't it? So if you shift from tense to I have to leave, and you go with it now, you go with this feeling of, oh wow, I was super tense. I didn't know even I had this in me. Maybe that's what you felt. Maybe you got surprised. Oh, but now it's on the other side. And now notice what happens when you're in that space. Really different things, really different thoughts. And when you're in that space, notice how you can see what's on the other side of this frustration, what wants to be born. What were you frustrating about in the first place? Notice how it's really creative when the mind is on the side. It's not mental constructs, it's just a feeling of, oh, that's what's there. Hi, that's interesting. Nice to meet you. Maybe meeting and saying yes to this for the first time. It's been there maybe for a long time, but now you say yes. Welcome to Creative Mess. Welcome to noticing. Ooh, that's interesting. Welcome to being playfully curious with what is there, wants to be created into that mess and through that mess, and go with that. And see what happens. As always, I'm very curious to you going through this exploration and telling me how it went, what came up. Maybe if you have questions, so please, please, please make use of the comment section. Tell me what happens. Tell me what showed up. Tell me, yeah, but I don't get what. And you know, I always reply. I love this conversation. And basically, this is why I'm doing this. Hey, if it's not a dialogue, then what's the point, right? So comment below. Let me know what you do with it, and I hope you will use this to go from this felt chaos to this really creative mess, and something beautiful could come from it. And I'm curious to see what it would be. So that was your weekly dose of fierce love for this week. Boom, life just got easier, isn't it? Thanks for being here. As always, I'm always grateful you're here. Reminder, like I said last week, I have spots opening for one-on-one support. I've had 2 spots for long-term support, and I'm opening as well short-term, which I don't usually do, but like I said, chaos time, it's a super special time. So I don't usually do single sessions. Well, I do now, for as long as I feel it's needed. So you can have information about that on explore.integrallyalive.com, explore.integrallyalive.com. You have all the information if you think this kind of approach can help you, and this kind of silly and serious at the same time, and compassionate, but also with a lot of humor, help, can support you. You're welcome. I'm waiting for you. That's it. Drop your comments. Let's keep this conversation going, and subscribe to get more if you like it. Share, especially this kind of exploration. If you went through it and you're like, oh, I know someone who really needs it right now, share to anyone to hear who needs to hear that. Stay tuned for the next video, and until then, embody 100% you. Bye bye. Au revoir.